Everybody in the audience, now listen to me carefully, is being given a special package, and I don't want you to open it. Do not open it. Cameras are on you, so do not open until I tell you. All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3. You get a car! 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 Everybody gets a car!
Everybody get some QE. Sorry.
Yeah, if there ever was a perfect representation of exactly what's happening now, that's it. As the U.S. economy is in a standstill, most Americans can't go to work. Most Americans are forced out of their jobs. Well, the most powerful are getting rewarded with just more insane news. But don't worry. We're getting news from the Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, that we're going to go back to normal soon. It's all going to go back like it was before, with even the New York Times issuing a similar piece with their article titled, "We Can Safely Restart the Economy in June. Here's How." Again, very incredulous news, to say the least. I'm, of course, joined by John Sneisen, financial historian, Tim Pichette, financial planner. What is the truth of these larger statements and promises here? Because they definitely can't be the truth with everything that's in front of us right now.
Well, yeah. So what's happening now is that they basically are just shoving money at the deflation that's happening with it's insane. Organizations, businesses, everybody was so levered up that it didn't take more than a couple of weeks for them to fall apart financially. And so what you're seeing is just the Fed has to pump in unlimited amounts of money together with the government now and their aid package that they're putting in. They're going to have to literally try to save the economy here. They're trying to do, and that's what they believe, actually. They seriously believe that they could print limited amounts of money and then everything would just work back to normal again when they reopen again. Well, first of all, I don't think we're going to be able to get back to normal again back in June. And second of all, with all the businesses that are shutting down right now, they're actually shutting down. They're not reopening again after this is over because they couldn't take it. They had to, just exit if they could, out of their business and sell it, and then whatever money they have to retire on because people don't have they couldn't afford to stay afloat over 2 weeks or 3 weeks, be able to pay their employers and everybody. So just like, okay, I'm just going to close up shop. I'm done. And that's what we're seeing right now is I don't think anything is going to revert back to normal the way Munchkin thinks that things are going to go ahead or Luke.
Yeah, and then things are completely backwards. I mean, we just passed a $2 trillion stimulus bill, according to some like Nancy Pelosi, one to many to come, but we're only giving $250 billion of it to the people who need it. I mean, come on. Tim, what's your projections, and what do you think of Steve Mnuchin, again, a couple of days ago? There won't be a recession. Everything's going to be fine. Now, everything's going to go back to normal. Everything's going to be fine. Can it, Tim? What's your analysis of it?
Well, it depends who you're talking about it going fine for. So, maybe it goes fine for the bankers because they're the ones who, end up getting bailed out from all this stuff. So we look on screen right now, former Treasury, this is the former Treasury Secretary, Hank Paulson, who's also former Goldman Sachs. So just like the old boss, same as the new boss, or maybe it's the other way around, how that saying goes. And what this article goes on to say is, not everyone's going to be happy from this. There's going to be winners and losers from this bill, but you can't expect everyone to be happy from this. So basically, who you can expect to be happy from this are the big bankers, who they are the ones getting bailed out from this. And so yes, I think things could go back to normal for the bankers because guess what? When they got to use all their money to buy back stocks, the companies that they essentially own anyways or share boards with. All those companies got to buy back their own stocks. The hedge fund managers, everybody's making billions of dollars, millions of dollars. And then all of a sudden, we're in some trouble. And then they get bailed out. And then when they get bailed out, there's a lot of their competitors are going to go out of business. And then they get to swoop in with all the free money, get even bigger, and then have us by the even more next time that this happens. And so things can go back to normal, but it just depends things are going back to normal for. Because there's a lot of people out there who, they're probably losing their jobs. Maybe they're losing their house. Maybe they're losing their marriages. There's people who are going to be taking their own lives because of this. We're looking up on screen right now and seeing Bank of America fields 150,000 payment deferral requests, but some customers call mortgage relief misleading. And so, why don't they just stop, all credit cards or something for the next foreseeable future?
Well, that's where they make all their money. Come on. Why would they do that?
John, I wanted to throw it to you because me and Tim have been talking about this for a while, and we're saying that this is probably going to be worse than 2008. What's your analysis on that?
No, we're entering into a greater depression. I've said that actually since 2008. They just papered over the entrance of the real depression, and that now I don't think there's any way out of this anymore. You could keep on printing money, but it comes to a breaking point where the population says that, well, I'm not going to take this worthless money anymore. I'm going to just start using toilet paper as currency instead. And that's where we're heading towards is that breaking point. But when that breaking point, that trust breaking point in any fiat currency happens, it takes within a year, and then the currency is either severely devalued by the government or they hyperinflate it because they basically there's nobody that could pay their bills anymore. And of course, if we ever had the interest rates go up in this type of a system, do you think that we would actually be able to sustain the payments on that, like the US government, all these bailouts, everything that's happening right now? No, you got to keep it at zero. They got to go to negative and way below negative. And we're definitely entering into a greater depression. Actually, the unemployment numbers that are just coming out right now, we're entering into a greater depression. Goldman Sachs was talking about, how we're going to see a drop down as far as almost 30% negative loss in GDP from this hit. And I think that's where we're heading towards, Luke.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to note that, other people, statisticians and experts in the field have been talking about what Donald Trump has been talking about, how the effects of this kind of larger recession, larger depression could be far worse as far as lives lost than this virus. Now, the Vice President, Mike Pence, is saying that his task force will soon deliver their recommendations on whether to reopen the economy or not. From everything that I'm seeing, from everything that I've seen covering this sickness spreading all over the world, I don't think that's going to be likely at all. There have been some moves making sure that the curve is flattened in some ways, but overall, looking at it, it doesn't look as significant. It doesn't look as promising as a lot of people are making it out to be. So,
well, I can tell you one curve that's not flattened right now. Taking a look at John's website at theeconomictruth.org, and what we're looking at is complete hockey stick all the way up vertical line from the Federal Reserve, how much assets have gone onto their balance sheet. So, when we talk about curve flattening, how about we flatten that curve?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, and again, we also have to understand we're still in the very early onset of this. People say China's recovered, China's doing good. There's riots in China right now. Wuhan was officially let off quarantine, but still people in Wuhan can't go to other places in China. So the information we're getting from China is absolutely flawed. This virus is unpredictable. It's affecting Germans completely different than it is the Italians. It's affecting people in Los Angeles completely different than people in New York City. There's so many variables here. There's so many conditions. And I think really we're in a lot of pain and suffering no matter what we do. Open
we even have
the economy. It's a very hard decision to make. Tim?
Speaking of Germans, we have the German state finance minister was recently found dead. And I guess speaking of dead and finance, we've got Deutsche Bank, who they were already in a program where they were going to, essentially lay off a lot of their employees, and they're trying to, cut their way to prosperity. And now that things are going so bad, their plan is actually the people we're going to cut, we're not going to cut you right now because things are going so bad that we're going to wait to see what's going on in the future. So, oh yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of reassurance for everybody over there working in Deutsche Bank. And I always love, and John, I'm sure can back with this too, when they give all these dire forecasts for other, other entities where things are messing up. Because it's like the pot calling the kettle black whenever you see Deutsche Bank talking about how bad another company is doing.
No, definitely. And not to even mention that, like, who's next now is India. Nobody is talking about India. They're actually shutting completely down their whole It's basically state enforced. They shut down transportation, everything in India. And they're like people.
There's literally, I remember, John, just to cut you off shortly. Yeah. I was watching videos of what's happening in India. There's literally just police officers walking around with huge sticks. They see someone outside, they just beat the crap out of them. I don't know if you've ever been to India. It's a wild place. It's like the new frontier, Wild West. People crapping in the middle of the street. It's wild there. I
think it's like San Francisco.
The way they're enforcing this is just beating people senselessly who are just, walking down the street, maybe going to the grocery store. In South Africa, there's police officers just using rubber bullets on people standing in line to go to the supermarket because they can't get food. There's also some reports of looting and rioting in Italy. I'm going to be talking about that on the main channel in just a little bit. But, and Kenya is another major, crap storm waiting to happen in many ways.
Yeah, and Kenya, actually, they're actually to stop markets from happening, they're tear gassing them. So it's just the government reaction to this is way overwhelming. It's interesting. I just live out on the countryside, so I went to the store. There's a good social distancing. Nobody was doing, like, people are cleaning. They had like shields up and everything, and it was way in order. You go to the city, there's a lineup of 30 to 50 people outside. Desperate, taking 2-3 hours to get into the store. So living out on the countryside right now, that's probably a really good thing for people, getting away. And you're seeing that in Norway. A lot of people have reverted because they have cottages. They moved their cottage as their primary residence because they're trying to get out of Dodge because of this craziness that's going on. And especially like this whole thing. Like, I saw a picture that you guys shared on our Telegram chat there with, the toilet paper producers being above Illuminati and everything.
Dude, it's so I literally just shared that B-roll 2 seconds ago, so that was perfect timing that you didn't even know that. So
yeah, it shows you, the government, the mainstream media, the financial establishment, the Illuminati, the aliens, and then the toilet paper producers on top of everything, pulling all the strings. Makes sense.
That's amazing. That's exactly how it is, guys. it's the real deal. No, it's what we got to understand is that people that were not prepared for something like this. It's one thing to deal with. Like, I'm not afraid of the virus at all at my age. I'm more worried about the older group, but. The major problem is the government's reaction. Like, now we're going from 50 people gathering here in Manitoba on Monday. They're going to enforce 10 people gathering. In Germany, they had 5 people gathering. No, 2 people actually, or more gathering outside is illegal. Then in Spain, I think they chased people out of their backyards. They weren't allowed to be in their backyards in the cities because it was too close proximity to each other.
Well, John, what about Augusta Karstens over there? Is he the German? I forgot what his exact title is, but what is Job of the Hut?
He's over. He's eating money.
Wait. Oh, we did. Oh, dude, we didn't have it. We didn't have it on you for that, so we completely blew it. Wait. Let's.
We broke the money machine.
And we just ordered it. I ordered a Trump Keep America Great Again 2020 money machine. All right.
Okay, you got me. Oh, there's Augustin, chewing the money up there over at the base. That's why it's so huge. That's where all the QE is going, directly to his stomach.
He's trying to eat Germany, eat German to economic prosperity once again. But Germany,
I think I might have gotten a paper cut on my nose or something.
Yeah, all this free money is not as easy as people think.
No, it's tough. It's actually not a very good diet, and that's why you see he's so huge, because he's a sick man, and he's as sick as the whole monetary system itself. It's on the verge of its deathbed, but because the more you eat, the fatter you get. It's just
speaking of fat, and someone who may have seen this coming and has a pretty good bug out is media mogul David Geffen, who has a $400 million super yacht and wants to let everybody knows that he is staying safe. So we go here from the picture, and yeah, I'm sure everybody was so concerned about David Geffen, but someone who actually is a little bit more concerned is we have the father of Wall Street's fear gauge, which is the VIX, sees wild volatility continuing until corona cases spike. In theory, it works on a simple principle. It is a measure of the stock market's expectation of volatility over the following 30 days based on near-term S&P 500 index options, both puts and calls. The higher the number, the greater the expectation that market volatility will be higher over the course of 30 days. So
yeah,
we got that.
Tim, sorry to interrupt you. I got a good idea here. Everybody needs to go out and get a case of Corona to save the economy. That's the people's QE of the economy. let's save the whole economy. Get a case of Corona.
We've seen reports that there was like the Corona aisle where it was basically like blank, like all the Corona was still there because nobody wanted to drink it. Which I've been drinking actually more of Corona just because of all this. But I think
beer has fluoride. You should stay away from it. Sorry, go ahead.
Organic beer.
Well, I do want to talk about we've got no more fiscal hawks, and so all the fiscal conservatives, they've all laid down their shields. They all love this stuff, and that's why I left the Republican Party years ago. I mean, I don't believe in any of these presidents or politicians. You consider myself a voluntarist, which basically immediately after the 2016 election is when I went from more libertarian to voluntarist. So yesterday I didn't really kind of expound upon that, but yeah, we're taking a look at this, a $2 trillion bill, largest economic relief in U.S. history. And and it dwarfs the $800 billion economic package, which really there was really a secret $16 trillion ballot package back in 2008. The reporter that ended up covering that, his name was Mark Pittman. Mark Pittman had a FOIA request, and then he magically died right after that. So anyways, that's what, if you want to be someone who actually digs into this stuff and gets into the weeds of this, then you might be Epsteined.
Actually, Tim, in my book, I have about the whole TARP bailout and what it entailed. And actually, it's the Canadian part of it where nobody was talking about that they were bailing out Canadian banks. They said, Canadian banks are doing great. But then meanwhile, they're getting hidden bailout funds from the TARP fund and all that shadow money.
You know what else is very surprising to me is the way the mainstream media is characterizing this. I mean, we have another article here by the Washington Post that's titled "The Coronavirus Crisis is Exposing How the Economy Was Not Strong as It Seemed." Ish.
Really?
Really? I mean, come on. It's just
if only there were some people out there who've been saying this the entire time. But I think one thing that not to toot my own horn over here, but one of the things that makes me different than a lot of other people is I made money on the way up and then only went 5% down. So that is a lot of people who have been touting doom and gloom the entire time have been getting wrecked for 10 years, and then they clawed back a tiny bit of it during this. And so, it's craziness. Things are not as well as we've been led to believe. The collateralized debt obligations, all the
CLOs.
Yeah, the CLOs. John and I did a report on that March 1st. You guys can check out Tip It Show at the Liberty Advisor channel for that. But yeah, we are getting up on 17 minutes here. So
yeah. I mean, I'm a novice, and I even saw this coming. Thank you so much, John, for joining us on this special episode. Your website will, of course, what's your website again, John?
TheEconomicTruth.org and bankrun.org.
All right. So, John, Tim, thank you again so much for being on the Change the News channel. Stay tuned for more economic news coverage here every single day.